Hi everyone, Russ Thomas here from RST Coaching Academy. Welcome to a new episode of Money Talks, where we talk about money and how to make more of it. Hello everybody out there on internet land, tuned in to another episode of Money Talks from me, Russ Thomas, your host from RST Coaching Academy. As you know, if you've been paying attention to this over the last year, whatever, that I like to interview individuals that have been successful in business and hear their stories, hear what they've been through, what their challenges have been, what they've accomplished, and then ultimately what advice they might have for you to help you in your quest as we talk about money and how to make more of it. So today I've got the privilege of introducing my new friend, Andy LaPointe from Northern Michigan. Cold up there, but no snow right now until the next storm comes through. But he's going to talk about his background in the gourmet food industry. Oh boy, we might just gain weight here in this talk. But anyway, so Andy, I want to welcome you onto the program today and kick it off to you and let you get going with your background and what comes to mind of how you can relate your life, your business to listeners from all walks of life, no matter where they're at. They need to hear principles of success and how other people have been successful. And today is your turn. So take it away, Andy.
Well, I appreciate it, Russ. Nice to meet you, and thank you again for having me on your show. You mentioned a little bit about leverage, and what I'd like to do is kind of frame my conversation, our conversation today, wrapped around having the mindset of leverage in everything you do. And Archimedes says, if you give me a lever long enough and a firm place to stand, he could move the earth. And that's definitely true. So everything that I look at in my life, from family to business to relationships, no matter what it is, I always like to look at it from a leverage standpoint. Because the benefit of leverage is it not only increases your own productivity, but allows you to offer insight and guidance, for example, from a consulting standpoint, for your clients or anyone who's listening to you. So my goal today is to have several aha moments where Rush, you and I are talking, and my goal is to have someone listen and say, you know what, aha, I've been wondering how to solve that, or that's a very unique way of looking at it, or that's a great way to take my current situation and then gain more leverage from it, which means increased relationships with your family or your clients, increased income for your business, but most importantly, an overall enjoyment of your life so you can contribute more to your family and everyone that you come in contact with.
Good. And you're the man to discuss it because you've been living it.
There we go. And one of the ways that I approach it is I look at myself as a lifestyle entrepreneur. And a lifestyle entrepreneur is someone who first designs the lifestyle that they want for themselves and their family. Then they create the income to support that lifestyle, no matter what that lifestyle is. Because what that allows you to do is that allows you to look at all the opportunities in your life, not from a money aspect of it, because as we know, going into business and going through life, there's always going to be money, but what's not going to be there's not going to be always time. So if you look at it from a lifestyle standpoint, you're leveraging your time, but you can always find the money to support your lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought you were probably going to talk about you don't have to like what you're doing. You just need to be able to use that to get to the lifestyle, to the goal that you're interested in.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing it up, because earlier in my life, I didn't like what I was doing. I've loved the experience and such. And let me just kind of give a background of where I came from and how I came through. For example, I grew up when I was 14 years old. I started working in my cousin's pizzeria. I had four uncles that were franchisees for Little Caesars. They were at the first wave of the Little Caesar franchisees. So they helped as franchisees. I worked within the commissaries and the restaurants basically from 14 to about 18 years old. And the nice thing about growing up in a food industry, in a family business, for example, you're able to learn the business that a lot of quote unquote just employees who come in at 3 o'clock and leave at 7 o'clock and leave. Being a family, I was able to stay after hours, get to know how the business runs, ordering, get to understand the customer service relationships of it, get to understand the business aspect of it from 14 years old. And of course, being 14, I really didn't understand it. I at that age, of course, you're there, you're having fun with your cousins, you're there spending time with them, and then you have these Friday night pizza rushes, which at the time were great and challenging, but most importantly, it built the commitment and experience that I have and the work ethic. And everyone has that capability, because no matter what we're doing today, when we were younger, there were certain things that we look back on, you're like, oh, I hated doing that at the time. But when you look back at it at this point in our lives, you're like, you know what? That was really beneficial. That was very beneficial to do from that standpoint. And so when I was 18, I went to college, earned my real estate license, and then worked my way through college. My parents paid some. I paid some by selling real estate. But the reason I bring that up is because I transitioned out of the gourmet food industry to become a college student, and I graduated in 91 with a degree in finance. After I graduated, I get into financial services. And from the financial services standpoint, I was a registered investment advisor, mutual fund wholesaler, basically from 1994 all the way to 2009. But what really changed my life and allowed me to do what I'm doing now is September 11th.
Really?
Yeah, because when I was as a wholesaler, I was traveling 150 nights per year, 75,000 airline miles, all out of Northern Michigan, because I had friends who actually moved for different jobs and different corporations. And then a year or two later, they got fired, or they got let go, or they got downsized, because I always made a commitment to myself and my family that I would never, ever move for a job, because that allows me to leverage where I'm at, look at the opportunities and where I'm at. And that goes back to what you were mentioning. If someone's doing something they don't want to do or don't like doing, how do they leverage that to the next opportunity? And there's a great book by Walter Wattles, which is called The Science of Getting Rich. That's a great book. It's came out about the same time that Napoleon Hill did with Think and Grow Rich. And one of the insights from Walter Wattles in his book, The Science of Getting Rich, it said, do your best wherever you're at, because you cannot work towards tomorrow today. You have to do your best today so you can have a tomorrow. So if you're always saying, okay, I can do better tomorrow, I'm looking for another job tomorrow, I'm looking for another job in 6 or 8 months, the job and opportunity that you're at now, use that to get the experience that you need so you can grow into that next job tomorrow, next week, or next month. So do the best that you can in a current situation that you're at. Learn what you can, take advantage of the opportunities, look for the leveraged opportunities, so that allows you to grow to your next position, because you can't do more than you can today. All you can do today is in this moment, because you don't know how we're going to react individually in a different situation tomorrow or next week. We have a good idea, but until that moment presents itself to us, we don't know how we're going to react. And the best way to know how we're going to react is to gain the experience, knowledge, and insight today, so you can train yourself to react in the future for certain situations.
Well, that's awesome, because that's very contrary, I'm sure, to the average mentality of individuals, of their mindset is, I don't like my job and I'm going to cringe and I'm going to curse and I'm going to fuss and fume over every minute that I have to be here. Instead of turning that into a stepping stone with a better attitude, they let it become a stumbling block and come out having learned nothing.
Absolutely.
So that is just priceless. That's okay, we could quit right now because there's your piece of information to pass on to people is, and I've heard the expression, bloom where you're planted, make the most of where you're at
Mhm.
because you don't have to die there, but learn all you can and
Absolutely.
go from there. That's good advice.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
And for
So,
example, let's say you're working in a food establishment, which I did, and I think
uh-huh.
everyone at one time or another should work in a food establishment. Just for the work ethic, just to hate it, just to get dirty, but you really should. But the reason I bring that up, even in a food establishment, you can actually leverage your 9 to 5 job, for example. For example, there's a lot of food establishments, that pay you by the hour, whatever it is, $10, $15 an hour, but they give you free food when you're on the clock. That's a leverage. So if you think about it that way, yes, they're paying you to come in at an hourly rate, which is a 1-to-1. You're exchanging 1 hour of your time or your life for $20. So
Mhm.
ask yourself, what is 1 hour of my life really worth? Is it worth $20? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if you look at it as, I'm worth more than $20, but I also get free food, that
Yeah.
changes your attitude of, what, I'm going to go into work. I don't like it all that much. They pay me, which I like. I get free food, which I like, but that also gives me the opportunity to keep that extra $6, $8 that I would have spent on a hamburger or a pizza that they're giving me for free and invest and buy the Science of Getting Rich book by Walter Wattles, or or buy a course, or hire Russ. But the point of the matter is that's a leverage opportunity. And as you
Yeah.
mentioned, it's all about that attitude. And that's the way I approach it, from a leverage with everything I do.
Hmm. And it's things like that separate the mediocre from the above average, that those are really going to progress in life and in business. When
Mhm.
uh, when you were 14 to 18 years old in a family run business and you were having fun with your cousins and stuff, were you learning the business, or was it just that you were putting in your time? And did it help you get a taste for what could come into your life later? Or was that just an isolated 4 year period of time?
Well, and that's a great question. Was I learning the business? Yes. And the reason that I was learning the business is because, well, number one, it was a family business. So you tend to, quote unquote, trust family members, a little bit more, quote unquote, than, folks that you really don't know until you get to know them. But to
Uh-huh.
answer your question, did I learn from it? Yes. I learned from it to create a quality product, which is a different ingredient to the pizza, for example. At the end of the day, I learned to take the responsibility, even at 14, to take the money from the cash register, put it into the deposit bag, count it out, give it to my cousin so he would double check it. Then he and I, because I was 14 and I didn't drive, he and I would go to the bank night drop box, drop in the green cash bag of cash. So that taught me, even though I didn't fully appreciate or understand the different stages that I was going through, that taught me responsibility, that taught me to do a great and high quality job no matter what I did. But most importantly, that gave me the confidence and understanding of, no matter how menial a job is, as I look back to it, there's always a benefit to doing it. So, I mean, I played the drums. I started playing drums at 13 years old. For the first 6 or 8 months, I didn't know how to play, but I stuck to it. Was it the benefit of playing in the drums and going out and playing with bars, and that was fun, believe me, but the bigger benefit of it is a dedication to a craft or an art or your business, and that self-confidence that you have, but more important, that stickability that it taught me, and the perseverance that it taught me to play drums. Yes, I don't play much anymore because my ears are bad, because I kind of blew them out over the years, but that dedication and commitment and confidence that built up from that standpoint.
Understood. So where a lot of kids in high school are flipping hamburgers like I did, and it
Mhm.
was just, an hourly rate, and that's the way it was. You were learning something and learning ultimately how to leverage that
Mhm.
for future use. Um, all that today's teenagers would learn that principle of taking where they're at. How many kids are working, and not just for a job, but or an education in some particular area that
Mhm.
who knows what. When I was in college, I spent 2 summers working at a gas station,
Mhm.
2 different gas stations. Well, guess what my first business was? College degree, and I ended up buying a gas station. I couldn't believe myself that I actually did that.
Yep.
But, and I can't say that working at the gas station gave me any um, any interest in the business at the time or any insight as to the operation of the business, but I knew how what goes on at a gas station. So when the
Mhm.
time came, I had at least that going for me, you know, and
Yep.
so one thing led to another. So I don't know. I wasn't leveraging at the time, but I guess I leveraged after the fact, so to speak, back in my mind. I said, well, this is how you do this, you know.
Mhm.
The first station I worked at, we would pump gas. And that's back in the day when this was 1965 and stuff, 66. And we'd pump the gas and take the money and leave. Well, that's how that gas station operated. The next gas station I worked at the next year, he trained me to
Mhm.
check the fan belt, to check the air filter, because those were residual sales available. So I learned how
Mhm.
to do that. So guess what? When I had my own business, that's what I did and made extra money doing that. So I like that. I like your concept of the leveraging thing. No matter where you're at, folks, there's something that you can learn. Um, we're not here by accident. You're not here. You're not there by accident. Make the most of where you're at and use that as the stepping stone and not a stumbling block. So carry on. Oh, I was going to mention you been in the gourmet food industry, but I heard you mention, and it was a Little Caesars um, pizza shop, and
Mhm.
you called that a gourmet food operation. I
Mhm.
heard you say something to that effect. I never would have considered it as a gourmet food. Interesting.
Well, in a reason that I did that, and being 14, I didn't understand that. But coming back in from financial services, and we can go a little bit more how I transitioned from financial services back into the gourmet food industry, because the the gourmet food industry is the only industry, in my opinion, the only industry in the world that we are involved with every person's aspect of their lives. Birthday parties, you have food. Funerals, you have food. Weddings, you have food. Parties, you have food. So being in a gourmet food business, no matter if it's a deli, you have you have a one panini maker, you're frying paninis on the beach in Daytona Beach shores, you're selling popcorn off of a push cart during a street fair, you have a pizzeria. I believe anyone in the food industry, we have the responsibility to provide the best product that we can. And the reason
Mhm.
that it's so is because we are invited, because people buy our product. We are invited to into the most intimate, celebratory, most sorrowful times of people's lives. And when you really think about it, when you go into a restaurant, what are the two things you remember about a restaurant? Number one, was the food good?
Food.
Yes. And number two, was the bathrooms dirty?
Mhm.
And maybe not in that order. But if you think about it, when you go to a restaurant and they say, you know what, I went to the restaurant, how was the food? The food was really good, but the bathroom was dirty as heck. The point of the matter is, if you look at the little things in life and take care of the little things in life, that helps to allow you with the mindset to take care of the bigger things in life, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. So what by definition constitutes a gourmet food?
Or gourmet food is basically defined by the individual who buys it and eats it. And the reason is everyone has a different lifestyle and everyone has a different attitude towards the event and towards food.
Hmm.
For example, I have friends who have the impression that the best Mexican food is Taco Bell. That's their gourmet food. Other folks, the best pizza is a Little Caesars pizza compared to a homemade pizza. But the point of the matter is, it's more of how the person interprets the food that they're buying for the event that they're having. So that brings the responsibility back to my business, for example, Traverse Bay Farms. with the mindset that we have of delivering the best quality food, packaged food possible, salsas, jams, jelly, gourmet products, and providing ideas so the individual who buys it can not only open a jar of our cherry salsa, for example, made with Michigan cherries, dip in some tortilla chips, which is great, or they take that same jar of cherry salsa, they add it to meatloaf. So it's a cherry flavored meatloaf. So what that does is that takes that same jar of salsa exponentially or leverages the usage opportunity of it to make that single jar, that single slice of pizza, that carry out taco from Taco Bell, which I love Taco Bell, by the way. That allows you to provide that gourmet experience and a gourmet food to that end consumer, how they want to use it. But that goes back to the company's responsibility of, yes, this is a food product. We eat it. We gain weight, we lose weight. It's good. It's nutritional. That's great and all. But what's the experience it's given to the end individual? That's my definition of gourmet food.
Oh, wow. So you're putting out more than just protein and calories. You're putting out really an experience.
Absolutely. And that
Yeah.
goes back to the 5-star Michelin, or the Michelin rated restaurants. Is it really worth $200 a plate? No. Because you can go to Costco or Sam's and buy a prime rib and cook it yourself, and it's almost as good for $15 a steak.
Right.
So what makes it gourmet? It's that experience and what the end consumer wants to experience from your consumer. And if you deliver it, in my opinion, that's gourmet.
Gourmet. That's really neat. And that can be applied to a lot of things, I provide gourmet coaching services.
Absolutely.
That could
Absolutely.
be applied to anything.
Absolutely. Because what that does is when you use the term gourmet, that expands the mind of the person you're talking to. Like, what exactly does gourmet mean? As you asked me, and what that allowed me to do, Russ, that allowed me to define my own niche, my own marketplace in the consumer's mind. And by doing that, I have no competition. How can you compete against somebody if you're not in the same league?
Yeah.
And by you defining your own niche, by me defining what gourmet means, I have no competition because everyone else is just slopping out tacos or slopping out salsa.
Yep.
I'm providing that next level, which allows me to be that first call when folks want jams, jellies, salsas, barbecue sauces. But again, that goes back to leveraging how I'm going to leverage my business. And for example, if I could go back to the gas station real quick, a gas station owner has multiple leverage points for income. They have the gas. They have the ability for their team to go out and check the radiator, check the serpentine belt, as you mentioned. They also have that improves tips to the individuals or additional services. You have the candy bars, the pop, everything inside of the store. So that's 3 leverage points right there. In addition to maybe a delivery service, we can go on and on. Mm-hmm. But the nice thing about what we have by approaching it as a leverage opportunity, it's not a one-to-one relationship. Any job that anyone currently has, you can leverage that, as we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. And it's really quite important to be able to do so.
Absolutely.
For one's further advancement in life, business, money making, whatever the case may be. Make
Absolutely.
the most of every opportunity. All right. Let's see. You got 2 retail stores up there in your neighborhood, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you distribute your products to 42 states. So you have a distribution network going as well.
Absolutely. And again, that takes a step back from our leverage standpoint. And if I could, can I just walk through basically when we create when a product's created, for example, let's say as an example, for the sake of this conversation, 1 batch of black bean salsa is 100 cases, just for round numbers.
Okay.
So 100 cases of black bean salsa will be produced in 1 batch, which is used in a copper kettle and so on and so forth. So each case has 12 jars in it. So we have 12 jars times 100 cases. That's 1,200 jars out of 1 batch. And it takes about 3 hours to make a batch, just for the sake of this conversation, okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And it costs $10 per jar to make a batch. So I have 12 1,200 jars times 10, that's $12,000 cost for me.
Right.
I take those 100 cases and I sell that. So that gives me basically a 1,200 to 1 leverage capability. I do it once, yet I sell the same product 1,200 times. That's leverage point. Then from a distribution standpoint, we have distributors that we give them a case, they put it in a store. For example, our products are distributed in over 150 Rural Kings, which is all through the southern U.S. and western U.S., not so much in the northwest, in the northern Midwestern states, Michigan and such, Ohio and South. But what the benefit to that is, our distributor through Rural King takes a jar of our cherry barbecue sauce, puts it on her shelf. Maybe it sells, maybe it doesn't. But we have 50 people who see our jar every single hour in Rural King. They may not buy it from them, but they may remember, oh, cherry salt, cherry barbecue, Traverse Bay Farms. They go to our website and they buy it. So that's another benefit of leverage by having a distributor and then distribute it all throughout the U.S.
Good
and
deal.
And then we do have 2 retail stores because we are in the tourist area of northern Michigan. So we're really, really busy from Memorial Day to Labor Day, but then it tails off because we're in one of the top ski towns and golf areas of northern Michigan. Matter of fact, Sleeping Bear Sand Dunes was just voted in the top 5 or top 10 of the best places to vacation by CNN in all of America. So we're in a really, really desirable place. So that's the benefit of leveraging all the tourists that come up and the locals. They buy products in either one of my 2 retail stores. They take it back home. They fall in love with it. They give us a call and we ship it out of my place. So we have direct to the consumer as well. So we have multiple income sources and multiple leverage opportunities just by sitting down from day one and say, how are we going to leverage the opportunity we have?
Got it. Right. Pretty smart. Pretty smart. And you've been doing this since, what was it now? 2009? No, 2001 is when you started the gourmet food business. Wow.
Yes. I think anybody can do this if they're working in a job that you pay, that you're paid 1-to-1, 1 hour of my time for, a certain amount of money. That's a 1-to-1 leverage. But then we talked about if you're working, you get a free hamburger or a free taco, or you get a quarterly bonus. That's a leverage opportunity too. So the benefit about whatever you're doing today, you can take a step back and leverage it for what you want to do tomorrow and in the future.
Got it. Good. Good. Okay. So advice. I think you've been giving great advice this whole time that we've been talking, but to put something in 1 or 2 sentences succinctly for the audience, what would you say?
I mentioned that the lifestyle definition of a lifestyle entrepreneur when we first started talking, Russ. What I would say is first design the lifestyle that you want for you and your family, then create the income to support that lifestyle, no matter what that lifestyle is. Because the lifestyle you're working today, is that the ultimate lifestyle you want with freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of health and flexibility? If not, take a step back, design exactly what you want. And it may be very surprising. It could come to fruition a lot sooner than anyone has ever imagined. And the reason that it's so is you designed exactly what you want. And it's quite amazing with AI or artificial intelligence. One of the way to use ChatGPT or any of the other AI machines, and this is a good way to kind of talk a little bit more about this topic, is AI is kind of like life. You have a computer screen in front of you, you have ChatGPT in front of you, and you have a little prompt. You can type anything you want in that prompt. More definitive you are in that AI prompt, the more definitive answer you will get from ChatGPT or AI. For example, if you write in there, make my life better, ChatGPT is going to come back and say, okay, what do you want? I don't understand how you want a better life. But if you type in, make my life better by showing me strategies to increase my income, showing me strategies to do a better job at where I work to show me strategies of doing X, Y, and Z, to show me strategies how to grow my business. ChatGPT is going to say, oh, now I know what you want. And it's going to produce a lot of definitive answers. And that's exactly how our brain works, which is pretty amazing, because the way ChatGPT works, the more definitive and specific you are, the more definitive and specific your answers will be out of ChatGPT or AI. In essence, that's how our brain works too.
Cool. And it might even lay out part of your game plan.
Absolutely.
How to get there.
That's absolutely right. So from
Pretty
that
wild.
standpoint, just be specific with your goals and use ChatGPT too to help you.
Good idea. I was on a coaching call with some other of our Grant Cardone coaches this morning, and talking about the difference between coaching and mentoring. And one of the guys said, each of us ought to get on ChatGPT and ask that question, what is the difference, and see what the answers are. Theoretically, they should all be the same answer, but who knows what the answers would be. But you've done more and thought more than just a simple business owner, gourmet food company owner. You have thought about this whole concept of leveraging and so on. Are you open to discuss this with somebody that might want to pick your brain on some further information? I don't think it said here that you've written a book yet.
I've written a couple books.
You'd have, okay. So, and those are available out on the marketplace on this kind of subject, leveraging?
On this kind of subject, yes and no, because it's interesting about writing a book. My first sales manager, Eric Rader, when I was with Real Estate One, which is a regional broker dealer or a regional real estate company here in Michigan, maybe bigger. When I was 18 years old, the first 3 or 4 months in the business, beating my head against the wall, trying to get clients, trying to get listings and everything else that goes with anybody new in the business. And he took me in his office. He goes, you know what, Andy? You're doing everything right, but you don't have much success. I'm like, no, 18 years old. Exactly. Oh, beat me up.
That's why he's the boss, because he's so smart, right?
Exactly. Just beat me up some more. Come on. But basically what he said was, you know what? You have to write a book. I'm like, why would I do that? I don't know anything. He goes, well, you just got your real estate license, 3-4 months ago, didn't you? I said, well, yeah. He goes, you know the basics of real estate? I said, yeah. He goes, you know the basics of listing real estate. You know the basics of selling real estate to a buyer, finding out what their needs, goals, and wants are, their requirements, their qualifications, their financials. I said, yeah. And he goes, but everyone goes through that. I said, well, yeah. I mean, there was, 30 people in my real estate licensing class. He goes, but they're not you. If I sat down with you and I sat down with another trainee, your experience and understanding and interpretation and conceptual understanding of the real estate business would be different than her understanding. So that gives you a unique opportunity in the marketplace to offer something unique and something that sets you apart from all those people that's been in the business for 10 or 15 years who's never written a book. Boom. So what I did, just put together a 10 or 15 page, regurgitation, so to speak, of basic real estate selling, basic real estate listing. Everyone I went to, here's a book. And they'd look at it, and it's basic stuff, but it was my basic interpretation of
from your perspective.
That's exactly from there. That changed it.
Yeah.
So going forward, I've written books, and the best way, and I've learned this from one of my other sales managers, the best way to learn something, no matter what it is to approach it as you are going to teach it, because the teacher has to understand more than the student. And by learning with the concept and the idea of eventually teaching, that forces you to spend the time, energy, and effort to learn the subject matter rather than surface level.
Yeah.
So anything you approach it as teaching, even if you've been in a new area, a new niche, a new company for 2 days, write it down. You don't have to share it with anybody, but that gives you the insight, that gives you the knowledge of knowing more than probably people who's been with the company for 2 or 3 years, because they never sat down and truly understood what they're doing. So approach
Interesting.
it as teaching. You want to approach
Yeah.
everything as you're teaching it, even if you're not going to write a book, because that allows your mind to go deeper into the conceptual and how would you answer those deeper questions compared to, how do I buy a house? Well, you buy a house by XYZ, but did you ever think about A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Mr. House Buyer 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. So approach it as it from a teaching standpoint.
Good deal. I remember I had a job back in, I don't know, 1971, and I was training my replacement in this bank. And it amazed me as I was teaching this fellow what I did, how much I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that just solidifies in your mind, hey, I really know this. I really know this business. I really know what I'm doing as I was preparing and teaching this other individual. If a person wanted to reach out to you for some advice or further information, maybe find out more about your books, how could he do so?
Oh, sure, sure. My phone number, and grab a pen and paper. My
Are
phone
you
number,
listening, people online? Grab a pen and paper.
that's old school, man.
I'm old.
231. There,
How
that's
many?
two 231
Uh-huh.
533
Mm-hmm.
8788.
87, 88.
And then my website is Traverse Bay Farms. And that's how folks can get a hold of me from that standpoint. But yes, I've written several books. For example, I've written books on how to start a food business. I have courses on how to start a food business. I've written a book on how to sell your products at street fairs and festivals, which is a great way to leverage your opportunities because you have tens of thousands of people in front of you within a 3 or 4 hour time span.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and that's the 2 ways to get a hold of me with my phone number, 231-533-8788, or my website, traversebayfarms.com.
Good deal. And folks, you want to order some of those cherry barbecue sauces. I have to tell my wife about that. She's in the barbecue sauce. She likes Sweet Baby Ray's, I think, sauce, but cherries, she likes cherries too. I'll
Well,
tell her
there we
about
go.
this. Yeah, so
Our cherry barbecue sauce was voted #1 in America. We've won 38 national food awards at America's largest and most competitive food competitions. So not only do we have the longevity of being around since 2001, 23 plus years, we also has the credibility of winning 38 national food awards at America's largest and most competitive food competitions.
well, awesome. And your cherries come from northern Michigan instead of Mexico or China.
Absolutely, yeah. Our cherry juice concentrate, we never import from China, Turkey, or Poland, and we use as much locally grown produce as possible in all of our products. So that's something really, really good. So we're basically recoasting or just purchasing as much local produce as we can in all of our products that are produced.
Well, you're helping the local economy in that whole process too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're probably cutting down on your distribution costs to get your raw materials. So anyway, folks, there you have it from another expert in his field. I hope you were listening good. I hope you were taking notes. If you got questions, give him a call, 231-533-8788 or traversebayfarms.com. Go on there and buy something from the poor man. Okay? And if there's anything I can do for you, Russ here at RST Coaching Academy.com or 386-286-2450. Give me a call. Both of us would love to see you grow and prosper and leverage where you're at and use that as a stepping stone to get to where you want to be. So that's all for now. Over and out, I say. We'll talk to you next time. Okay? Take care and goodbye. Hi, thanks for being here today for another episode of Money Talks. I hope it was informative and encouraging to you. If it struck a chord in your heart, or if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. Visit us at rstcoachingacademy.com, call 386-286-2450, or send an email to email@rstcoachingacademy. Thanks again, and until next time, be great.